نجد له وليا مرشدا. وتحسبهم أيقاظا وهم رقودون ونقلبهم ذات اليمين وذات الشمال وكلبهم باسط ذراعيه بالوسيد لو اطلعت عليهم لوليت منهم فرارا ولملئت منهم رعبا. وكذلك بعثناهم لتساءلوا بينهم قال قائل منهم كم لبثتم قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم قالوا ربكم أعلم بما لبثتم فابعثوا أحدكم بورقكم هذه إلى المدينة فلينظر أيها أزكى طعاما فليأتكم برزق منه وليتلطف ولا يشعرن بكم أحدا إنهم إن يظهروا عليكم يرجموكم أو يعيدوكم في ملتهم ولأن تفلحوا إذا أبدا. وكذلك عثرنا عليهم ليعلموا أن وعد الله حق وأن الساعة لا ريب فيها إذ يتنازعون بينهم أمرهم فقالوا ابنوا عليهم بنيانا ربهم أعلم بهم قال الذين غلبوا على أمرهم لنتخذن عليهم مسجدا سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم رجما بالغيب ويقولون سبعة وثامنهم كلبهم قل ربي أعلم بعدتهم ما يعلمهم إلا قليل فلا تمار فيهم إلا مراء ظاهرا ولا تستفت فيهم منهم أحدا ولا تقولن لشيء إني فاعل ذلك غدا إلا أن يشاء الله واذكر ربك إذا نسيت وقل عسى أن يهديني ربي لأقرب من هذا رشدا ولبثوا في كهفهم 300 سنين وازدادوا 9 قل الله أعلم بما لبثوا له غيب السماوات والأرض أبصر به وأسمع ما لهم من دونه من ولي ولا يشرك في حكمه أحدا واتل ما أوحي إليك من كتاب ربك لا مبدل لكلماته ولا أن تجد من دونه ملتحدا واصبر نفسك مع الذين يدعون ربهم بالغداة والعشي يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا ولا تطع أن أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره فروتا صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد المرسلين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجان، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتال. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصائبك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بمبالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونسب لك الحرب، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم. وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بمبالاتكم ومبالاة وليكم، وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشيائهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي يكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقنا البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبتني عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم، وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد، اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله، في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد العابدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد، وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا ثم العن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابه. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبتني قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Hadi Rizvi for recitation of poetry with the Allahu salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Okay. سلام ای کعبه دلها حسین جان، سلام ای کعبه دلها حسین جان، سلام ای شمع ما فلها حسین جانم، حسین جانم حسین جانم حسین جان، حسین جانم حسین جانم حسین جانم، سلام ای باب رحمت باب جنت، سلام ای باب رحمت باب جنت، سلام رهبر والا حسین جانم، سلام ای میوه قلب پیامبر، سلام ای میوه قلب پیامبر، سلام ای زاده زهرا حسین جانم، حسین جانم حسین جانم حسین جان، حسین جانم حسین جانم حسین جانم، همیشه بر لبم نام تو باشد، همیشه بر لبم نام تو باشد، همه گویان که ای مولا حسین جانم، غمت رو از دل و جان غمت رو از دل و جان میپذیرم، غمت رو از دل و جان میپذیرم، کنم بر پا عزا حسین جانم، حسین جانم حسین جانم حسین جان، حسین جانم حسین جانم حسین جانم، سلام ای کعبه دلها حسین جان، سلام ای کعبه دلها حسین جان، سلام Hussein Janam Hussein Janam Hussein Jan Hussein Janam Hussein Janam Hussein Janam Salawat.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Hadi Rizvi. One more last salawat for him. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Muhammad Heather for recitation of poetry with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. تڑپتی رہ گئی ماں اور علی اکبر نہیں آئے. مصیبت کی گھڑی مصیبت کی گھڑی اور شام کے بڑھتے ہوئے سائے اور تڑپتی رہ گئی ماں اور علی اکبر نہیں آئے. مصیبت کی گھڑی اور گزر جانا ہی لکھا ہے جوانی میں اگر یارا گزرنے سے علی اکبر کے پہلے ماں گزر جائے. مصیبت کی گھڑی مصیبت کی گھڑی اور شام کے بڑھتے ہوئے سائے اور وہی انداز کر سکتا ہے درد قلب لیلا کا نظر کے سامنے جس کے جواب بیٹا سے نہ کھائے. مصیبت کی گھڑی مصیبت کی گھڑی اور شام کے بڑھتے ہوئے سائے اور جواں کی لاش پیری میں اٹھانا ایک قیامت ہے. یہ دن اللہ دنیا میں کسی کو بھی نہ دکھلائے. مصیبت کی گھڑی مصیبت کی گھڑی اور شام کے بڑھتے ہوئے سائے اور سنبھل کر کھینچیے گا قلب اکبر سے سینہ مولا الجھ کر نو کے نیزہ میں جگر باہر نہ جائے مصیبت کی گھڑی مصیبت کی گھڑی اور شام کے بڑھتے ہوئے سائے اور زمین تھر آ گئی اکبر کا لاشا رکھ کے ریتی پر حسین ابن علی جب شکر کا سجدہ بجا لائے مصیبت کی گھڑی مصیبت کی گھڑی اور شام کے بڑھتے ہوئے سائے اور تڑپتی رہ گئی ماں اور علی اکبر نہیں آئے محمد والے محمد صلوات.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Muhammad Haider. One more loud salawat for his recitation, please. At this time, I'd like to request Brother Hassan Abbas Kanani for recitation of poetry with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بار دیگر بآواز بلندتر صلوات. چلا جو خیمے سے مرنے رسول جیسا پسے چلا جو خیمے سے مرنے رسول جیسا پسے تو پیچھے پیچھے یہ کہتے ہوئے چلے سروے مڑ مڑ کے مجھے دیکھتے جانا علی اکبر اور کچھ دیر تو جی لے تیرا اور کچھ دیر تو جی لے تیرا بابا علی اکبر مڑ مڑ کے مجھے دیکھتے جان علی اکبر تو زی سے گرو گے تو بدل جائے گی دنیا اور مقتل کی طرف کون ہمیں لے کے چلے گا قاتل تو بتائیں گے نا رستہ علی اکبر مڑ مڑ کے مجھے دیکھتے جان علی اکبر ہو جائے گا مشکل میرا آنا میرے بیٹا مقتل میں کہیں دور نہ جانا میرے بیٹا اب مجھ سے چلا بھی نہیں اب مجھ سے چلا بھی نہیں جاتا علی اکبر مڑ مڑ کے مجھے دیکھتے جان علی اکبر اور احساس تڑپنے کا غمارے تجھے ہوتا میری طرح تو اپنا جگر تھام کے روتا تیرا بھی جو ہوتا کوئی بیٹا علی اکبر مڑ مڑ کے مجھے دیکھتے جان علی اکبر اے لال تجھے کہتا ہوں بابا کے حوالے میدان میں ہنستے ہیں کھڑے بیچیوں والے اچھی طرح پھر دیکھ لوں اچھی طرح پھر دیکھ لوں سینہ علی اکبر مڑ مڑ کے مجھے دیکھتے جان علی اکبر اور سر پیٹ کے مولا نے تک لم یہ صدا دی ہے چادر زینب میری غربت کی گواہی ارے میں تم کو کفن دے نہیں میں تم کو کفن بھی نہیں دے سکتا علی اکبر مڑ مڑ کے مجھے دیکھتے جان علی اکبر مڑ مڑ कि मुझे देखते पर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु।
Jazakallah khair, Brother Hassan Abbas Kanani. One more loud salawat for him, please. Respected Sheikh, elders, brothers, and sisters of faith, Assalamu alaikum. Our condolences to the Imam of our time and all the Mu'mineen on the martyrdom of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and his companions. We are honored to have Sheikh Amin Rastani speak at this Ashura here at CFK. The community looks forward to listening to and learning from the speeches of Sheikh Amin. Just a few reminders before I request the Sheikh to begin. Like previous years, the programs for this year's Ashura is scheduled to begin at 6:50 p.m. with the recitation of the Holy Quran and Ziyarat Ashura, speech by Sheikh Amin Rastani, and will end with Salat al-Maghribain and to go Niyaz. CFK will also be having two private majalises during this Ashura. The first one being an Urdu majlis hosted by Brother Sultan Rizvi and family at 7:30 in the morning, speech by Maulana Mudassir Muswi Shah. The second being a Farsi majalis with Sheikh Amin Rastani beginning immediately after Salat al-Maghribain. Huiz Hussain is having a blood drive this Wednesday, July 26th here at CFK. Please pre-register, there are only 6 spots left. Mu'mineen are encouraged to take part. The link to register is present on our WhatsApp and email announcements. For the remaining of these 10 nights of mourning, Al-Ain has set up a small corner in the ladies' side to give hope and healing to orphan children for a better tomorrow. During the month of Muharram, a lot of children were left orphaned in the plains of Karbala. Stop by the table to help these children with the tools they need to heal, grow, and unlock their potential. A reminder for sponsorship and registration. Here at CFK, we aim to serve the community while being responsible with your donations, as it is your contribution that enables us to bring to you these great speakers and keep our doors open. We thank you for doing your part in helping us to achieve this objective by pre-registering using the links present on our WhatsApp and email announcements. We also do not do any active fundraising between programs or other parts of the program. Sponsorship slots are available online and updated every week at cfkdfw.org. We request that you contribute as much as you can and become a part of the Azadari of Abu Abdullah. Alhamdulillah, we are blessed with the tawfiq of attending these majalises and with the intention to accommodate everyone. We request all brothers and sisters to come forward and fill in the empty slots around us so that we can accommodate as many mu'mineen as possible without disturbing the Sheikh and our attendees during his speech. We also request that attendees work with our parking volunteers and carpool if possible to get the most use out of our limited parking spots. A reminder for everyone's safety and security, please do not park on the fire lanes. We would like to remind our parents about our dedicated mother's room. This room has a live feed and has been set up so our kids can be accompanied by their mothers and get accustomed to sitting and listening to the programs in a lighter, less restrictive setting. With this, we hope to bring ease to our programs, attendees, and mothers for these upcoming nights. As always, event details are posted on our webpage and WhatsApp group. On our website, you can sign up for our newsletter, find the QR code to join our WhatsApp group, and donate and sponsor these holy nights. For opportunities to help behind the scenes, please ask myself or Brother Zunair or any of the volunteers. Before I ask Sheikh Amin to recite Ayat al-Karima on the member, I would like to request a Surah Fatiha for the marhumin of tonight's sponsors. Please also note we have some condolences to offer in learning of the passing of Marhuma Mansura Methani, daughter of Abdul Rasul, wife of Brother Akbar Methani. The namaz janazah for the marhuma will be tomorrow at Moment Center at 2 p.m., followed by the burial at the Denton Cemetery at 3:30 p.m. Please offer Salat-e-Veshat for the marhuma tomorrow night. Let us recite a Surah Fatiha for her, and please include your own marhumin and mominat as well. Before I ask Sheikh to ascend the member, I would like for request him to, before he begins his speech, to recite Ayat al-Karima for all those who are ill and ailing and going through trying times, especially for Brother Bacha Sharazi and Brother Ahmad Ali Raza. With that, I would like to ask the Sheikh to ascend the member to begin his speech for tonight, and I will request all brothers and sisters to move as close to the member as possible, as plenty more people will be coming in later throughout the evening. With Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
As the brother said, let's recite the Ayah Karima 5 times, inshallah, for the shifa of those he mentioned. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآله وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. So as I have mentioned before in previous nights, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought us here for ubudiyya. He wants us to reach a destination. That destination is not given for free, it's earned. And so, going with that theme that we had initially, the inspirations we take from Ashura, one of those tools, one of those inspirations that we take from Ashura, that is also one of the tools that Allah uses to get us to the destination, and it's a shortcut. Although when I say shortcut, someone might think that it's going to be one of those WhatsApp messages, the ones that come from India or Iran or Iraq and those places that are forwarded many times. At the top it says forwarded many times, and then there's a special zikr or a special wird and dua to do a certain number of times and to blow in a certain direction and to do something like this and something like that so that you're set for Jannah or all of your sins are forgiven, etc. It's not going to be one of those shortcuts, okay? I'm not saying that these types of things should not be taken serious either, but shortcuts won't work if what matters is not secured by us. We need to secure what matters, and then the supplements will do their thing, inshallah. Anyway, one of those things that we take inspiration from is this relationship between Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his son. And today we're going to be commemorating Ali al-Akbar. This parent-child relationship. But today, I want to focus more on the children towards their parents. And this is something that I speak about here and there. So you parents out there, you can hold your ears tonight. We're talking to the younger ones. Because if we want to get anywhere in life, if we want to have a successful dunya, as I will mention later, or even much more importantly, a successful akhirah, parents is one of those things, I called it a shortcut. If you observe it, it's a shortcut. If we don't observe it, it will just cut. Okay? Cut us short from reaching the destination, no matter how much work we put in, how much effort we make in life to be super successful and all that kind of stuff. Even if I write in my profile, my Instagram profile, I write entrepreneur, still, I won't get where I want to get to. Probably. Okay? Probably. I'll talk about this in detail, inshallah. So, what we want to speak about tonight is that Allah only has so many tools when He brings us here. And parents is one of those tools. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. But we have to develop a proper perspective. When we look at the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasalam, when we look at Imam Hussein and Ali al-Akbar, on their journey to Karbala and the conversations that they have and the love that Imam Hussein has for his son and his son has for his father, this pushes us in the direction that we understand and take away from this that, okay, this is of the utmost importance. It's really a waste of our time and life, and it's a shame if we're saying Labbaika Ya Hussein in Muharram because we're all fired up. Saying Labbaika Ya Hussein, but then we struggle with something like this. So as I'm going through all of this, brothers and sisters, the older brothers and sisters who might be parents, we need to also be careful about not taking advantage of these things that we're going to talk about. And I might point to this more later towards the end as well as a disclaimer. But inshallah, the parents will hold their ears and not listen, so I can speak comfortably with the younger guys and just let us be very, very, very careful about this one thing, because the effects of it are long-reaching and very, very permanent if we don't live up to the expectations that Allah has of us. So to cover this topic, inshallah, I'm going to share with you some verses of the Quran. I'm going to go through some, I'm not going to get time probably to go through some hadiths, but I will go through the titles of one of the chapters of the famous book of the greater sins by the late Shaheed Tasqib Shirazi, just to get an idea of what we have in our literature in this regard and how scary this matter is, how much we have to be careful regarding it. I want to read to you a passage from Sahifa Sajjadiyya as well, just so we get an idea of what the expectations are, because we have people out there who sometimes say, oh, my parents are this, my parents are that, my parents have wronged me. Let's see if any of this makes a difference in what the expectation is. And finally, just to illustrate how there's a real thing going on when it comes to parents. Like sometimes you might make a mistake in life, okay, whatever. You make up for it, you ask for forgiveness, etc. Sometimes we make a mistake, it ruins everything, because there's a real link between that matter that we committed and our life in this dunya even. I'm going to share a story with you, inshallah, of one of the khulafa who was killed by his son, who became a khalifa after him. But we will get to see that even in that case, although the khalifa that was the father deserved to die, but because the son was behind the death of his father, still that effect came into play. There's a real effect when it comes to parents, whether we like it or not. And finally, if I have time, some disclaimers that I think are super important as well. So hopefully, we can get through all of that. Risala salawat ala Muhammad wa ala. As I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He only has so many tools. But then these tools that He does have are very sharp and they get the job done. Either they are going to be your shortcut or they will cut you if you don't use them. The Quran is very clear about this. When we look at the Quran, and I'm pretty sure that we are familiar with these verses. There are 4 verses that I have here. Surah Baqarah verse 83. It says, "La ta'buduna illa Allah wa bil walidaini ihsana." It's baffling actually, because we have 4 verses that have the same wording. Another verse, Nisa 36. "Wa'budullaha wa la tushriku bihi shay'a." I'll translate later. Allah, this is Surah An'am 151. "Allah tushriku bihi shay'an wa bil walidaini ihsanan." And the 4th one, Surah Isra 23 to 24. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Okay, the first thing that stands out in these 4 verses that are worded that very, very similarly is the fact that Allah touches on the most important thing ever, which is to not be polytheists. To not be mushrik and have shirk towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So there's one sin out there that we know Allah doesn't forgive, and that's shirk. That means if you die with shirk, like, might as well just give up, because don't have hope. Other than that, Allah forgives, they say, everything. Okay? And that's why the next greatest sin after shirk on the list of great sins is to lose hope in Allah. So Allah forgives everything, okay? But if I die a mushrik, then there's probably no hope for me. This is different than a person who has shirk and then repents from it, because then you're not dying with shirk anymore, okay? Hopefully that point is clear. If for whatever reason in a point of a person's life they become mushrik, but they turn back to Allah, you can't say, oh, Allah doesn't forgive shirk. No. What is meant is, if a person has shirk and dies with shirk, yeah, that's for sure. Other than that, let God be the judge. Thank God we're not God. Remember we talked about this before. Okay. The most important thing when it comes to beliefs is tawheed and not having shirk. Okay? What are you going to tell us next, oh Allah? He says, and make sure that you are good to your parents. This, brothers and sisters, let's just end the lecture right here. Like, should we just end the lecture right here? You better not nod. But this is enough to end the lecture right here. He didn't talk about his prophet. He didn't talk about an imam. He didn't talk about ma'ad. He didn't talk about anything. He says, and not just one verse, so you say, okay, one verse, maybe it's not that important. 4 verses or sets of verses that Allah is doing the same thing. He says, hey, people of the world, I am the greatest. You must worship me. Okay, and what else should I do, God? I should be careful to listen to you as well. I should be careful for this. And bilwalidaini ihsana. Just from this, pairing these two together shows how significant this is. Now, what I want to do is zoom on one of these 4 that I just mentioned for you, because one of these 4 has more details that come after it. Just so that we start to understand that parents are like gods on earth, as if they're not normal people, okay? If we can understand that they're not normal people, then it'll be easier for us to accept how Allah makes a blanket ruling for respect of parents, all right? Before that, we might just look at them as just like anybody else. Okay, yeah, they've taken care of me and all of that. Allah loves them a lot. I should love them too, etc. But when we understand that, look, we have an Allah, we have prophets, right? We have imams, we also have parents. It is a separate entity for itself. It's not just people that are important. No. Allah has opened up a chapter in Islam for them separately. We have to understand this, so that certain questions don't come up later that we'll talk about. Because some people, they get upset when we talk like this. The Quran is speaking like this. It's happened before. There have been people who've been critical. Why this blanket statement? We'll get to that inshallah. But this verse, Surah Al-Isra, verses 23 to 24, gives us some more details now. And the older ones here, brothers and sisters, forgive me if I might say, the things that we might already be familiar with. But I only got these kids in Muharram. After Muharram, I don't know where they be. How to get a hold of them, I don't know. So now's the time. And if they're not here, some of them, they're probably going to watch this online. So guys, this is for us. This is for us young ones, you know what I'm saying? All right? Don't laugh, brother, it's real. I'm talking real here. Is it funny that I'm considering myself one of them? Yeah, it is funny actually. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And then the verse goes on. إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. Rolling eyes. The verse. Yes, sir. The verse. I want to talk about this a little bit. Let me read you the translation. Your Lord has decreed that you shall not worship anyone except Him. And He has enjoined kindness, ihsan, to parents. Should they reach old age at your side, one of them or both, do not say to them, now here it says fi, F-I-E, whatever that means. Okay, fi. Now some kid is going to turn around and say, I never say that to my parents. No, we'll talk about this. And don't raise your voices over them, shout at them, but speak to them noble words. By the way, as we're covering this topic, I want us to remember one thing. Some of us might not have parents. We might have grandparents, though, or vice versa. I want us to understand that the things that we're covering, yeah, they will also, to a good extent, if not completely, apply to grandparents. All right? So, once we're over today, and we get this understanding of, wow, one of the main ways I get to Jannah is this, but I'm upset that I might not have a parent, but if I do have a grandparent, then why not? Or if one parent versus another parent, one has passed away, another one is still alive. Okay, we still have hope. We'll even talk about, hopefully, when we get the chance, if we get the chance, what if they're all passed away? What can we do there? All right, so we have some points here we need to cover in this verse. Surah Isra, verse 23, 24. Right after Tawheed, once again, the parents are mentioned. And then, out of all the different stages of the life of one's parents, the verse then zooms on the hardest part for us growing up. And that's when they have reached an older age. The verse doesn't isolate that part of their lives when they're doing good. They're working hard, they're making money, I'm sitting at home, I go to school, everything's taken care of. Because over there, God doesn't really need to say, hey, you know what? They're cool people. Over there, Allah doesn't need to say it like that. Because whether I like it or not, I have no choice but to agree that they're cool, or else no allowance. But as I get older now, as I get successful, yeah, and as I'm busy with my life, etc., 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 and now slowly they've gotten older, and now they might be seen as a burden, Allah says, I want to talk about that time. I want to take that time out, and because that is the time that maybe some of us might feel like, enough is enough, like how much longer, and so on. He wants to talk about that point. So that's the time where we're usually taking care of them. That's when we're being patient with them. That's when they're still, although now I'm super successful, they're still trying to impose their will on me. Okay? Like for example, I'm a sheikh, for God's sake. You don't believe me, just look at me. But I still go and sit with my dad sometimes. He's not going to see this probably. All right? I sit down with him and I feel like he feels like he's more of a sheikh than I am. All right? And so we're discussing things and all of that. Well, when I'm discussing things, am I going to be careful how much I flex? Or am I going to let him feel like he knows what he's talking about, which he does know what he's talking about. He's studied some of this stuff as well. He's not a sheikh, though. So now, this reminded me of a story, by the way. I'm just going to share with you on the side. This is off script, okay? Or off iPad. Remember the auntie that said she doesn't like to listen to sheikhs with iPads? So it's off iPad, okay? The story goes like this. We all know Sheikh Abbas Qummi, right? Do we? The author of Mafatihul Jinan, okay? Very good. So the author of Mafatih, that's not the only book he wrote. He wrote other books as well. One of the books he has is called Manazilul Akhirah. Now, Sheikh Abbas Qummi, I love this story, by the way. Humility at its max. It says that his father, which was a normal person, because people are either sheikhs or they're normal humans. That's what we say in the Hausa when we joke around, like, is your dad a sheikh or is he a human being? So his dad is a normal person, attending the local masjid, listening to these hadiths that have been compiled in the book of Manazilul Akhirah. Manazilul Akhirah means the stations of the Akhirah. All the different things that are happening in the Akhirah. And so he goes and attends, and the lectures that are being given by the local masjid imam, those are based off of this book. So in reality, what he's doing is the Shaykh is reading off of this book of Manazil al-Akhirah, the Shaykh of the mosque. The father of Shaykh Abbas Qummi, it says one time he comes home and he sees his son. He tells his son, listen, I think you should come to the masjid because there's these lectures that are being delivered, okay, off of a very good book called Manazil al-Akhirah. And I think you could benefit from it. So what is the obvious reaction and response that I'm going to have being the great Ayatollah Shaykh Amin Rastani that I am? Why are you guys laughing again? I'll tell him, Baba, and that's going to be my moment. After which, my dad is now going to understand that, oh, my son has actually grown up. Yeah, he is 40 years old. And he is like a scholar now. Maybe I should look at him differently. Maybe he's not my beta anymore. Mera beta nahi hai. Right? Either you're laughing because it was cute or it was totally off what I said. Hopefully I got it right. All right, so this is my chance. What does Shaykh Abbas Qummi say? He says, Dad, thank you so much. I'll take that into consideration. You know, maybe I should attend and benefit from such lectures. What? Yeah, that's what the scholars were all about. Not like what we see today. The guy, forget about writing Manazil al-Akhirah. The guy reads Manazil al-Akhirah and he goes all over social media and makes a huge deal about it. Hey people, selfie, look at me reading Manazil al-Akhirah, people. Give me some more likes. Yeah. These are the times we're in. Let's go back to our topic though. In that moment of me being super successful, and now he or she has now aged and they are slowly becoming a burden now, and I have to take care of them, this is the time period Allah is talking about. In other words, in their weakest, most vulnerable and frail time of their life, this is what is expected of you, let alone before that. Let alone before that when they are actually running, hustling for you and taking care of you. So we have three emphases here in this verse. Number one, it says don't say oof, or here it said fai, whatever that means, okay? Fai or oof, what they say is that it's the smallest way you can exhibit your disgust about something. Yeah, so growing up we would hear this verse and we say, Alhamdulillah, we're going to Jannah. Because when I get mad, I don't say oof to my mom. I just slam the door and break something. But like obviously, you know, a little bit of common sense is good sometimes. And to understand that what this verse is trying to say is that the lowest, smallest thing, you're not supposed to show them. Wait a minute, but these are normal human beings. They're not infallible. Yeah, but we have Allah, imams, prophets, different categories of people. One category that Islam acknowledges is parents. It's a category for itself. And because it's a category, it has its own rules. Sorry. Oof means you don't even say, oof. That you show disgust in any way, let alone run out and slam the door and say stuff and do stuff that you're not supposed to and all of that. Don't say oof, number one. Don't shout. Number two, la tanharhuma. And number three, قُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Say beautiful things to them. That's what it's all about. That's what this verse is saying. When they're buying me everything I want, okay, I'll do it. No. They are their own category. So it doesn't matter what age they are. That's why the verse, I'm talking about their most vulnerable time, when you're the one taking care of them. You know what it's like? Have you seen these, like sometimes these Hindus, what they do when they're taking care of the poor and needy, they will give them something and they'll kiss their hand, they'll kiss their feet, and they'll thank the poor person for accepting what they gave them. That's what it's like. That I thank them because they are my door and gate to Jannah. Oh Allah, thank you that they are here. No matter what the situation is, no matter how they are, that I have this opportunity through them, through this shortcut to make it. But then the verse goes on, it says, وَخْفِضْ لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة. One of my favorite verses. It goes on now. It says, have mercy on them and spread out your wings of dhillah, out of mercy for them. What? Zillat, lowliness, is bad. But there are some places where you are supposed to break yourself in front of somebody else and keep yourself low in front of somebody else. That's the parents. But Shaykh, no, Imam Hussein has taught us, hayhat min zillah. Relax, Habibi. Exception is here. وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ. That we want you to bring yourselves down for them. But that might imply zillat and lowliness. That's fine. The verse uses the word lowliness. Dhul and villa are from the same root. وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ. One of the great ulama that we had the privilege of, alhamdulillah, to be in the presence of for many years, but he's not alive anymore, of course. He was very strict. Someone once asked him, can we kiss the feet of the Maraja? He's like, no. But they've done so much for our Islam. No. But then the same person would say you can kiss the feet of your parents. Now, I'm not saying necessarily do that. They might be uncomfortable about it, but it just shows how low, how much it's okay for me to make myself zalil for them. Not zalil as in I act as like a zalil and lowly person in front of them, but doing things that I wouldn't do for normal people ever. Not even normal people. People who are not parents ever. Even if it means that it might imply some dhillah, it's fine. This is an exception to that rule. Now, this bring your wings down for them out of mercy, these wings of zillat, bring it down for them out of mercy. There are different interpretations of this. One meaning, they say that it's like the mother. A mother, what does she do? She spreads her wings out over her chicks, right? Out of rahmah and mercy and love, correct? This is one of the tafsirs of this verse, but I hate to say it, there was zillat in the verse as well, lowliness. You don't see lowliness when a mother is protecting her chicks, keeping them warm, and so on. And so Tabatabai, he has another tafsir for this verse. It's interesting, and I'm pretty sure during his time there was no Discovery Channel, but he still says it and describes it like he's seen it on Discovery Channel, where he says, no, have you seen how when a mother comes to feed her chicks, you've seen them, they're so weak, these chicks, they're usually very ugly too, because they're like bald, and all they have is just skin, and then they, like the mom, if I was the mom, I'd be like, that ain't my child. I'm gonna go look for something prettier, feed that thing. But the mother, because of the bond it has, feeds that chick. What happens when the chick finds out the mom is in her proximity? What does it do? It starts bringing out its wings and starts to shake them. Yeah? So the mother knows that I need food. This is, by moving her wings, what is this chick doing? This baby chick is letting mom know that I am the most needy. I am zalil for you. Please feed me. This is Tabatawai's tafsir of this verse. Brothers and sisters, do you know what this means? Do you know what this means? This means that that's how much we need them. The parents. That's how much we need them. To get to Jannah. Forget about shortcut that I said in the beginning. No, there is no other way. If I don't have this one, all the other stuff doesn't seem like it's going to help too much. They are their own category. One of the rules that comes with this category that other categories of people don't have is what? وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ. Like you'll have a category of people, your blood relatives. Uncle, aunt, brother, sister, and so on. It doesn't say do something like this for them. So we do have other categories of people, but when you look at the rules for them, you don't find any of these rules. These rules are specific to the Ahlul Bayt, I would say, the prophets of God, and the parents. وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ min ar-rahma. As if I am the one in need of you. Although I am a super rich, super successful, and well-off person that doesn't need any help in life, but I understand that the life that I'm having before me is not just the life here. Akhirah is also part of my life. And because I want a good akhirah, I need you for it, O mother and father. Wow, perspective. Now, of course, we started off with the relationship of Imam Hussein and Ali al-Akbar. The more righteous and pious the mother and father become, the stronger the rules apply. The greater the rules will apply. And so the story of Bani Israel comes now, where you all heard about the cow of Bani Israel, right? We're always asking ourselves as kids growing up, why is the biggest surah of the Quran called the surah of the cow? Couldn't God put a more sophisticated name on it? You know, something else at least? Well, there's a big lesson in the story of the cow and Bani Israel that we don't have time to get into. Of how much you listen to God and are submitted to His will and you don't question Him. We don't have time to get into that right now. But I just want to say this on the side, and you all probably have heard the story, that they had to slaughter a cow for Allah, and they kept bringing up excuses and questions. Oh, how's the cow supposed to be? We're not sure what it's supposed to look like. Can you be more specific? Blah, 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 until it reached the point where God narrowed it down to one cow that existed that ticked all the boxes that these guys were asking about. And that one cow belonged to somebody. This part is not in the Quran now. This part is in the Hadiths. This cow belonged to a young guy who had shown the ultimate respect to his father. Long story, I don't want to get into it right now. Had shown the ultimate respect to his father. And his father, when he found out that his son had done such a thing for him, his father had said, had done a dua for him that may God take care of you. May God compensate for what this great respect that you showed me. May God do it for you. Well, God took care of him. You know why? Because on one hand, you've got the Bani Israel now, who they've got the big bucks, and they're looking for this cow that fits the description that they have to slaughter. There's one young guy out there that has this cow, and so now they have to buy it from him, and I'm pretty sure he got some Benjamins for that bad boy. That cow that they slaughtered, he got some proper compensation for that. But look at what the Prophet says after this story is over. It says, "Unduru ila al-birr ma balagha bi ahlihi." O people, look at what birr does for those who are people who bear it. Birr meaning righteousness. And in this context, birr of walidain. Righteousness towards the parents. Look at what it does for those who have it. Now this is just the dunya aspect. But as I said before, there's a strong link between dunya and parents. Like certain things won't affect our dunya directly. Some of the good things we do or the bad things we do. They'll affect the akhirah in a way. But there are some things that right here we will get the reward or punishment of them. One of them is parents. Okay? And we'll get to that more inshallah. انظر إلى البر انظروا إلى البر ما بلغ بأهله. The Prophet is impressed. He's like, look at what bir can get for you. All right. So sometimes the parents reach a point that you have to take care of them. And it becomes like a time that it becomes like it's as if you're taking care of a baby, as if even. Okay? Sometimes even our mothers will tell us this, like in their 50s or 60s. They're like, man, I don't even want to be with your dad anymore. He's like it's like taking care of a baby. Think about it. In their 50s or 60s, they're complaining sometimes that, oh, this one's like a baby now. What if they reach 80, 90, 100? Yeah, it reaches a point where we have to really take care of them. But here, all of a sudden, the Quran says, وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. Oh yeah? You feel like it's reaching a point where you have to take care of them? I have 5 kids I got to take care of. Now we got a 6th baby, as if. What do I do? Why? Oh Allah, why? Well, do you want to get to Jannah? Yeah, well then don't say why. Because they took care of you when you were young, and so now you do dua, oh Allah, take care of them, help me take care of them, the same way they took care of me when I was a baby. Recite salawat. Yes, brothers and sisters, they are their own category. So you're doing dua for them. Look at this now. This is not my tafsir, this is the tafsir of the greats. So props to them, really. Credit goes to them for pointing these points out. They say, look, so it's not like while I'm taking care of them, while I'm respecting them, I'm going to be like, here you go, Baba. Smile to him. You're like, Baba, here you go. Okay, a fake smile and all of that. But I am maintaining respect. He says, no. It has to reach a point where you have enough ma'rifah and understanding of this is my key to Jannah, that from the inside you love them so much that you do dua for them. قُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. You know what that means? That means that it's not just the outside that is respectful. Even on the inside, I'm going to be respectful. Number one. And number two, after all of these commands, it says, رَبُّكُمْ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا فِي نُفُوسِكُمْ. Allah knows better what's inside of you and what's going on inside your hearts. I am telling you, not just on the outside, but on the inside even, this is what is expected. But I know what's going on inside of you, and I know how weak you are. إِن تَكُونُوا صَالِحِينَ فَإِنَّهُ كَانَ لِلْأَوَّابِينَ غَفُورًا. If you try your best, be good people, you mess up sometimes, either on the inside or on the outside, God forbid, and you get it wrong, Allah understands what He's created, guys. So you know what? إِنَّهُ كَانَ لِلْأَوَّابِينَ غَفُورًا. Allah forgives the ones who are penitent, the ones who repent. Yeah, we sometimes might get it wrong. Now let me say this on the side. When we do get it wrong, when we do slam that door, when we do get angry and say something, when we do roll our eyes, by the way, guys, let me just say this. This is a parenthesis within parentheses. Don't roll your eyes. Like, not at me, I mean at your parents. All right? Why? Because sometimes these gestures really pierces their hearts. After everything they've done, and then they're telling us to do something that's for our own good, and then I roll my eyes. Have you prayed yet? Roll my eyes. Are you going to wake up for Saturday if you're sleeping this late? Roll my eyes. Roll my eyes. These are little arrows that we send their way. Come on, we can do better than that. And so let me close that parenthesis. But the other parentheses that I had opened, when I do make a mistake, and I do slam that door, I do go against their will and hurt their feelings, etc., at least think about it afterwards. Let's think about it. Because when I'm angry, I can't think properly. Think about it. Okay, what did my parents do that got me so angry this time? Well, they shouted at me. Well, why did they shout at me? Because I was late to get into the car because we're going to the program, for example. Okay, well, was it my fault or their fault that they got angry and they shouted at me? Or they even said something to me that hurt my feelings? Well, originally, it's my fault. All right, then, what should I do next? And then I got angry and I said something to them in the car. Okay, so next time, in order to not make such a mistake, I will try to be ready. I'll be a step or two ahead of them even. I'll be ready in the car so it doesn't reach a point where they shout at me so that I have to say something back. This is what it's all about, brothers and sisters. Management. If we're not perfect, we make mistakes, but Allah wants to see, what are you going to do after that? So what am I going to do? I'm going to think about it. And this isn't just for parents. This is for everything. How did I fall into this sin? Well, I went into the wrong environment. How did I fall into that sin? Well, I got the wrong friends. Okay, it looks like I got to revisit my friends and who I befriend. Why did I tell this lie? Because I had no choice, because I messed up somewhere else. I was put in a situation where I had to lie. Well, next time I better not do that, etc., etc., etc. Like, we have to be smart about things. We have hadith that say that the mu'min, the believer, is a smart person. All right, let's not be dumb about these things. All right. Now, having said all of that, and that's what we have in the verses of the Quran, and there are other verses we don't want to get into. I think that should be enough, actually. When it comes to the verses of the Quran, I want to share with you what Sahifa Sajjadiyya says. Because someone might say, okay, my parents, they're just normal people and they make a lot of mistakes. They're not like those special parents that are always good, always smiling and all that, right? They make mistakes themselves. I've seen them make mistakes. I've seen them sin. And so why should I have to observe all of this? Well, Imam Sajjad in Sahifa Sajjadiyya kind of answers this question with his dua. So I'm going to read through this a little quickly because I hope I can go through it. It's about 20 lines or so. But if I tell you guys to go home and read it yourselves, I know you won't. So I'm going to do this here right now because this is super important. Just look at the different guidelines Imam Sajjad is giving us when it comes to parents. Once again, I'm talking to the younger ones here and even the older ones who have parents. It says, "Oh Allah, God, lower before them my voice." Right away. The Imam says, raising the voice shouldn't be happening. Make agreeable. Now, guys, we make mistakes. Try to fix it. That's what. Or else we have all been in that situation where we might have risen our voices. It's fine. But this is the ideal. Make agreeable to them my words. Make mild before them my temper. Make tender toward them my heart. Turn me into their kind companion, their loving friend. You would think you're doing dua for Allah to do this between you and the imams. But it's the parents. Oh God, thank them for my upbringing. Reward them for honoring me. Guard them as they guarded me in my infancy. Oh God, and whatever harm has touched them from me, detested thing has reached them from me, or right of theirs which has been neglected by me, allow it to alleviate their sins. Right? So older brothers and sisters, parents out there, when they really get on your nerves, it's maybe you have too many sins. The Imam here is saying, "Oh Allah, make it at least," the ones who are laughing, yeah, I see you. The other ones are like, "No, I don't have any sins. What are you talking about?" The Imam is saying, make it a kafara for their sins at least. So you see, the Imam is being super efficient. If we don't make mistakes, that's a good thing. If we make mistakes, the Imam is going to use that at least for something good. He says, "Oh Allah, make it an alleviation for their sins. Raise them in their degrees, add to their good deeds. Oh, He who changes evil deeds into manifold good deeds." Wow. Oh God, whatever word through which they have transgressed against me. The ones who say, "Oh, but my parents are like this and like that." Yeah, all parents are like that. Okay? They will say things that will hurt us sometimes. There are different grades of that, I do admit. But lots of times, you find this in every family. Oh God, whatever word through which they have transgressed against me. The key word here, transgression. Okay, and if I remember the Arabic, it does say dhulm, or something along those lines. Act through which they have been immoderate with me. Right of mine which they have left neglected, or obligation toward me in which they have fallen short, I grant it to them and bestow it upon them. Finished. Like the Imam doesn't even say, "Oh Allah, make this a kafara for my sins," even. He doesn't even say that. He said it for the previous set when it had to do with the parents. But the Imam has so much respect for the parents, he says, if they've done wrong to me, oh Allah, I don't even have the right, it's as if, to say that make this a kafara for my sins. Allah will make it a kafara for our sins anyway. But the Imam doesn't verbalize it. That's crazy. Crazy good, I mean. And I beseech thee to remove from them its ill consequence. So some of us out here, sometimes, I'm in touch with people. You don't believe me? Look at my WhatsApp, all right? And so across the world, you go talk to people, people talk to you and tell you about stuff. And so there will be people that say, "Yeah, my parents did this," and I've just said, "Oh Allah, you retaliate when the time is right." But the Imam here is saying, to remove from them its ill consequence. Subhanallah. For I do not accuse them concerning myself. Find them slow in their devotion towards me. I don't find them slow in their devotion towards me, or dislike the way they have attended to my affairs, my Lord. We might not even believe these lines when we're saying them, but just say them anyway. You know what it's like? It's like that person who's passed away, and we know how bad they were, but we say, "Allahumma inna la na'lamu minhu illa khayra." Oh Allah, we know only good from this person. And this is how Allah wants us to approach things sometimes. They have rights against me which are more incumbent, precedence and beneficence towards me that is greater, and kindness toward me that is mightier. And it goes on. I don't want to. Actually, this part is nice. I can't. Let me read it. It says, they have rights over me that are more incumbent. Oh Allah, don't hurt them because of what they did to me. Don't hold them responsible for what they did to me. Why? because they have rights against me which are more important, more incumbent. Precedence and beneficence towards me that is greater, and kindness towards me that is mightier than that I should settle accounts with justice. They're too kind, they're too good, they're too important for me to be after settling things in a just way with them. All of a sudden, when it comes to our parents, we say, hey, hat min nazillah. We say, Allah is a'dalul adilin. The most just is Allah. Here, don't clench your fist, bro. Open it up. Relax. It's saying they are higher than that for me to even talk like this about them. And so on. It goes on and on. Yeah, it's pretty long. But you, inshallah, those of you who would like, you'll take a look. I'll just read the last excerpt that I had here. I skipped a few. If thy forgiveness, O Allah, reaches them first, make them my intercessors and my shafi'ah. And if thy forgiveness reaches me first, make me their intercessors, so that we may gather together through thy gentleness in the house of thy generosity. Guys, why are we wasting time? Going out there and trying to prove that Islam is a good religion and all that. I don't know of any other religion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if we find anything in other faiths like this elaborate, and this detailed about the rights of parents in Sahifa Sajjadiyah. It's beautiful. Make me their intercessor, make them my intercessor, so that we may gather together through thy gentleness and kindness in the house of thy generosity. All right, so let's go through some of the anaween and titles that we have in the book of Greater Sins by Shahid Dasghib Shirazi. This great man of God, that I'll just say this on the side, for those of you who like these kinds of things, that Dasghib Shirazi, he was one of those great, great, great spiritual people. One of those urafa. And so, from what I remember, and I'm pretty sure this is the person that he had spoken to. I mean, he's not from the same generation as the likes of Allama Qadi, the teacher of Bahjat and Tabatabai and the likes of them. But from what I remember, there's one story of him that he was with Qadi Tabatabai. And Tabatabai told him, you're going to make it to that final destination. That nafs mutma'innah, let's call it. You'll make it there. He gave him the glad tidings of it. But it happens through an incident, something to that effect. This individual, Shahid Dasghib, after his death, they figured out what that event was that was going to propel him to that final rank of nafs mutma'innah. It was his martyrdom. It was his martyrdom. That there was an explosion, and by which they only found pieces of him, really. But he reached that rank. This person has written books. One of them is the famous Gunahan Kabira, or Greater Sins book, okay? Over there he talks about something called uququl walidain, not huquq, uquq, or aqul walidain, with an ayn, okay? Uququl walidain means to have upset them and disrespected your parents. Yeah, that's uququl walidain. Let me just read you the titles he has in this chapter of one of the greater sins. It says, benevolence to parents is wajib. And he brings hadith under each of these titles, okay? Service to parents is better than fighting in the way of Allah. Goodness to parents is the forgiveness of sins. Satisfaction of parents is satisfaction of Allah. Angels pray for those who do good to their parents. The material effects of aqil walidain. Punishment in this life. It wards off poverty if you take care of them. If you do certain things to them of disrespect and hurting them and breaking their feeling and their hearts, how it shortens your life. This is what I was talking about when I said there's a link between that and stuff that happens in this world. Allah's not going to leave it for the next world. This is one of those ones, because there's a special category called parents. Aqul walidain causes poverty and misfortune. Evil consequences of aqul walidain. Prayers of parents for children's welfare are accepted soon. So whenever we get stuck, what should we do? I'm going to go to my parents and I'm going to kiss their hands And I'm going to say, can you do dua for me for this and that, please? Now, this is where I want to share with you the story of the son of the Abbasid Khalifa, Mutawakkil. La'natullahi alayh. Mutawakkil, we all know, he's one of the ones of the desecrators of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn's grave. Okay? He tried to destroy the grave of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. His son, Muntasir, they say, wasn't like his dad. And he had a respect for Ahlul Bayt. Now, the story I want to share with you, I just want to highlight one point here. That there is we call it a takwini link between parents and this world we're in, and some of the things that happen to us in this world. Whether we like it or not. Whether even what we're doing is the right thing even. Well, you'll see in this story, okay? It's very interesting. And so I better be careful if I'm doing the wrong thing towards them. It goes like this. This Muntasir, he had a tutor. You know, all of these khulafa, their children had private tutors and they were taught a lot of things. And so this tutor of his was a wise person who respected Ahlul Bayt. So this is going to rub off on Muntasir, of course. And so it says one day, one of Mutawakkil's clowns, you know, he had in his court, he had, you know, entertainers and clowns and probably singers and musicians and whatnot. This clown dressed himself up as Imam Ali, it says, and would dance and sing. That this fat, like short man, na'udhu billah, wants to be Amirul Mu'mineen. He's making fun of Imam Ali. Mutawakkil is drunk, and of course he's laughing and he's having a ball. So Muntasir, his son, he sees this, he gets angry. And points at the clown, and he says, like, you better stop. And so the clown, like, he gets scared and he stops. Now, the father, Mutawakkil, he's like, wait, what's going on here? What's going on? Why'd you stop? He says, oh, like, you know, your son, this and that. He's like, my son? And so he disrespects his son and says something about his son's mother as well. Says something very bad. So this is that chip on Muntasir's shoulder now. And then it says that on another occasion, Mutawakkil is disrespecting Lady Fatima as well. So obviously this is a nasibi that has to go to hell. Muntasir speaks to his ustad. This is the part we need now. He says, "Oh ustad, oh teacher of mine, my father is this type of person. It's like he doesn't need to be alive. Is it okay if we do something about this?" His tutor says to him, "Yeah, but just know, because he's your father, you probably won't live long after." Okay? You probably won't live long after. Guess what? Now, according to the accounts that I was reading, they assassinate his dad. His son is involved in that indirectly. Okay? He's not the one who pulls the dagger or anything, but he also is one of the ones who plans this all out, and eventually Mutawakkil is assassinated and goes to Jahannam. Guess what? Muntasir becomes Khalifa, and they say some things about him. It's interesting how he gave Fadak back to the Alawites. Although by then Fadak this was just a formality by then. Fadak wasn't a big thing anymore probably by that time. And other things that he did, right? But all in all, guess what? Muntasir had a very short span life after his father was assassinated. Why am I sharing this story? I'm sharing this story because parents, that category is something that Allah, in this life, Allah has linked certain things to it, whether we like it or not. Now, I'm not saying if I disrespect my parents, I'm going to die soon. No, that's not what I'm saying. All right? But what we are saying is that there is a link here. If it reaches a certain threshold, God forbid, we can expect the worst, is what I'm trying to say. That this guy takes out one of the enemies of Islam, one of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, one of the Nawasib, and rightfully so, but still, because this is a category that has its own effects in this life, we call it in Arabic, we call it athar wad'iyya. It has an asar waz'i, they call it. It's something that Allah has set. Waz' means to set something. Athar means the effect of something. It's an effect that Allah has put there. That if there's a very high probability, if you're involved in the death of a parent, God forbid, that you yourself won't survive long after. Probably. Now, having said all of this, brothers and sisters, is it a shortcut? I can't even call it a shortcut. It is the main path to Jannah or Jahannam. The same way being a Nasibi towards Ahlul Bayt gets me into Jahannam, but being a proper follower of them and lover of them gets me into Jannah, inshallah. The same way, there's another category as well that's going to get me to Jahannam, or decides whether I get to Jahannam or Jannah. So let's be very careful about that. Now, finally, some of these disclaimers that I mentioned before. Recite another salawat. Number one, brothers and sisters, now the kids, you hold your ears, okay? Parents, we hear all of this, right? Let's not now take advantage of this either as parents, okay? Do this, son. No. Well, lecture number, what is it, July 24th? What is it today? 24th. July 24th, you have the link on, you've started on your WhatsApp, forward. Son, listen to this, please. Every mistake, every shortcoming, shortfall, no. You are going to Jahannam because I am the door to Jannah. Look, it'll only be so long before they give up. We're not ma'soomeen. The children, they're not ma'soom. So we have to work together. I'm going to pick my battles. We're going to pick our battles, and they are battles, trust me, I know. There are battles where we'll pick them, and we'll try our best to get along with each other. But if I'm telling our older brothers and sisters, when I say older, I mean the parents, to not take advantage, younger guys, don't take advantage of me telling them not to take advantage. Okay? You also do your part. You also don't be lazy. You also try to figure out what bothers them and stay away from that. Even if it reaches a point where what they're saying, you are 110% sure it's wrong. Okay? It's a sin they're inviting me towards, let's say. Still, that's not a green light for us to disrespect them. Yeah, the Imam right at the top, what did he say? Right in the beginning, he said, "Oh Allah, make agreeable to them my words." So what does this sound like? It sounds like I'm going to try my best to make them agree with me. Respectfully, I'll speak to them about things. If they're being irrational, guys, number one, first of all, let me say this. And I've said this before. It's an old joke, but I'll say it again. If your parents are not making sense, that's where the test is. Like, don't come to me and say, "Oh, Mulana, today I passed one of God's tests." Well, what is that? I listened to my parents, man. Oh yeah, what they tell you? They told me to play video games, man. And I don't have to eat good food. I can eat whatever I want and so on. That's not, I mean, that makes sense to you, but that's not where the test is going to be necessarily. It's only when it's not making sense to you that it's going to be a test. Now, let's assume that you know they're wrong and you're right, which lots of times is not the case. My daughter, if you're here, listen, please. Okay? And she's not here right now, actually. If we think that we're always right, that's not the case. There are lots of times where we're wrong. Trust me, we're wrong. I say this because I was a kid growing up, and I was sure my parents were wrong, but now I'm sure they were right in a lot of cases. But let's assume that you are 110% sure that you are right and they are wrong. Well, first of all, no disrespect once again, okay? I'll try my best to convince them. Sometimes I've been irresponsible in other situations. That's why they're being hard on me now, or irrational now, because they're worried I'm going to get myself in trouble again. Let us be a little more responsible so that they trust us a little bit more. Let's get a little more active. Let's get stuff done in our community. Let's learn more about Islam. Let's take others' hands, etc., etc., etc. If that doesn't work, let's speak to someone else at least. Maybe they can convince me that I'm wrong. But if they even say I'm in the right and they're in the wrong, okay, can you speak to my parents? And we'll try everything that we can. But in the end, brothers and sisters, this is where the test lies. Now, do I have to listen to them in everything they tell me, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the implications? No, our maraja have discussed these. So these are things we go to our maraja and ask, is it wajib for me to listen to them in everything they tell me? There are some conditions there. Yeah? But all in all, we're talking about the disrespect part. We're talking about the keeping them happy part. Inshallah, Allah gives us tawfiq for that. Now some people say, but what if I have a special relationship with my parents? Like someone actually told me this. He's like, me and my dad, we're so close, like I'll slap him in the head. I was about to slap him in the head, but because he's so jacked, I couldn't. Things like, if my dad's in the bathroom and he's taking too long, I'll like kick the door in or something. Like, bruh, what are you talking about? Oh, no, you don't understand, Sheikh. We have a special relationship. I'm like, yeah, the imams also had special relationship with their parents, but I don't hear about this stuff. So if we're 100% sure they're cool with all of that, and this usually isn't the case, but like, hey, if there's a possibility that this is gonna hurt them or make them upset, like, don't mess around here. This is we walk on eggshells here. Be very careful about that, inshallah. So yeah, we might have special relationships, but we can tell there should be a limit as well. I will joke around with my mom. At her expense sometimes. My dad, at his expense sometimes, because I know they enjoy it, and they'll take a shot or two at me and we'll laugh, and they're like, but yeah, at least we're not fat like you. I'm like, yeah, you're right. But that's about it. That's where it stops. It's not like, that was a funny one, and I punch him, and then he punches me back, and I'm like, take out my gun, pop. Oh, we got a special relationship. What are you talking about? So let us be very careful here that we set certain limits, and I think it's not that hard to figure out what those limits are either, as well. And finally, what if my parents left me when I was young? They had nothing to do with my upbringing. There are some cases like these as well. One of the brothers was telling me, he's like, yeah, he left me when I was young, and now like I don't visit him, I don't talk to him and all that. Like in the end, brothers and sisters, it's a category. There's no way around it. You don't want to be with him all the time, fine. But every now and then you have to hit him up. Salam dad, how are you doing? Is there anything you need? Any help? The guy tells me, like, I have a stepdad that I see more as a father. I understand that. But the biological mother and father of an individual is a category. Whether they gave birth to you, whether it was a C-section. Oh, my mom didn't go through hardship when I was delivered because it was C-section. Okay, well, she's your mama still. And that's a category. We have to understand, this is a category. Okay? And if my parents aren't alive anymore, then I can at least still visit them. I can send khairat for them. If I've wronged them here in this life, I can still tell them, Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. And I do this for you, I do that for you. Please forgive me in the barzakh. Like that's what we can do at least. All of the good mustahabbat that we can do. First, if they have any wajibat, take care of that for them if it's possible. And if that's not possible, or if they don't have any of that, then we have all these mustahabbat that we can do, that we can send them, these gifts towards them so they can be happy with us, at least in the barzakh. Recite salawat ala Muhammad wa Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. So we were speaking about parents and children and all of that. And that we take inspiration from Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam and his relationship with Ali al-Akbar. I want to share this story with you first. There's a sheikh, his name is Sheikh Hussein al-Kabir. I didn't know about him, but I recently heard about him. That he also had a bad past, but he had changed for the better and had become a sheikh, actually, had gone and studied Islam and became a sheikh eventually. They say he had a son he loved very much. And so, this son of his, the only son that he had that he loved so much, he lost him in the imposed war on Iran that Saddam Hussein imposed. And this is the one that I mentioned a few nights ago. I talked about him in passing as well. He lost his son, and he says that night when he became shaheed, my son, I woke up in the middle of the night, and my heart felt like it had been pierced. And so I'm burning, and what's going on? What happened later on? The next day they informed me that my son has been killed, and he's become shaheed in the battlefield. But the thing is, this is the part I didn't share with you all, that this Hussein al-Kabir, he says that after that, my heart was always aching, and it was as if it's bleeding. It felt like that night, like drops of blood had left my heart. And so my heart was burning always after that. They say that in the winters, brothers and sisters, he was burning. He would sit in front of the fan. He would drink ice water. And his wife would tell him, look, this dog, this burning that you have is not a normal one. This is because you lost your son. That's what's eating away at your heart. This is a person that is in recent times. And he says that one night I saw Abu Abdullah al-Hussein in my dream. And he said, Sheikh Hussein, all these years, you recited the Masa'ib of my son Ali al-Akbar. You didn't know what you were talking about. Now you got a feeling of what I went through when I lost Ali al-Akbar. I burned. And so whenever it's time to give the Messiah of Ali al-Akbar, brothers and sisters, I don't know what to say. Because I feel like we always fall short of what happened in the heart of Abu Abdullah. I'll say this much, that Sheikh Ja'far Shushtari, the famous lover of Imam Hussein, who has a book on Imam Hussein, Al-Khasa'is al-Husayniyya, they say, he says there, that Imam Hussein, he became shaheed when they beheaded him. But he died before that. He died when Ali al-Akbar fell to the ground. That's when he died. Because he said, the world is worth nothing to me after you, O Ali. Life isn't worth anything after you, O Ali. This beautiful relationship that Ali al-Akbar has, he's so great that they say he might have been Imam after Imam Hussein. That's how great he was. But they knew he's going to be gone after Karbala. And so he comes, after all the companions have been killed on the plains of Karbala, he comes to his father. It is now the turn of Banu Hashim, this family of Banu Hashim. Oh, Abu Abdullah, can I go? He says, yes, go. He doesn't even hesitate, it says. Ista'danahu fa'adhina lah. Imam Hussein said, go. He didn't even hesitate. I don't hold back. When I have to make sacrifices for Allah and Islam, I'm not going to hold back. This is my son, you can go. If it's someone else, I might say no. So Ali al-Akbar is given permission to go to the battlefield. They say he goes to the tent for one last time. The women, the children, his aunts, sisters are all around him. This is a person that looks like Rasulullah. Whenever we would miss him, whenever we would miss Rasulullah, we would look at him, and guess what? Rasulullah looks like Fatima al-Zahra. So I'm guessing that Bibi Zainab, whenever she misses her mother, she looks at Ali and remembers Fatima al-Zahra. Now it's as if another shahada of Fatima. Ali, please don't go, but he has to go. He's in love with Allah. He has to go. And as he makes his way, they say that Abu Abdullah does something very strange that shows he cannot bear this hardship. He holds on to his beard. He looks to the skies and he speaks to Allah. Oh Allah, be witness, we are sending to these people ashbahun nas khalqan wa khulqan bi Rasulillah. Whenever we would miss Rasulullah, we would look at him. They want to kill Rasulullah, as if Ali goes to the battlefield with him. He takes the heart of Abu Abdullah. He fights valiantly, destroying the enemy. But he comes back to his father. He says, oh father, al-atashu qad qatalani wa thiqlul hadid ajhadani. Oh father, the weight of the iron has taken all energy from me. Is there any water? I am thirsty and the thirst is killing me. His father says, go. Rasulullah will quench your thirst. As he's inhaling and exhaling, they say he had sustained so many cuts that the blood is flowing out from the links of his armor. He goes back to the enemy, fights valiantly again. But a person like this can only do so much. After a while, the thirst overtakes him. As he's fighting, there's a vulnerability. They say they strike him in the head with an iron rod. He falls down a little bit. He holds on to the neck of his horse. They say the blood covers the eyes of the horse. Instead of going back to the camp of Abu Abdullah, they say this son of Abu Abdullah by the horse is taken into the heart of the enemy. They open up room. Let him come. Let him come. Before Abu Abdullah can make it to save his son Ali, فَقَطَّعُوهُ بِسُيُوفِهِمْ إِرْبًا إِرْبًا. They cut Ali to pieces. Oh Father, my salams to you. This is my father, my grandfather quenching my thirst with water. They say Abu Abdullah rushes, Zainab rushes, Abul Fadl Abbas rushes. The first of Bani Hashim has fallen. They say Hussein can't even make it to Ali. A few steps before Ali, they say he doesn't dismount his horse. Saqata min farasihi. He falls off of his horse. He can't even get up to run on his knees. He gets closer and closer to Ali. There's nothing left of Ali. And so he puts his cheek to the cheek of Ali al-Akbar, to the point that they say, we thought Hussein died. As the enemy is cheering and clapping and mocking, look, Hussein is dead. He says, Hussein gets up, he says, "Oh Bani Hashim, come. Bring a cloth with you. Let's take the body of Ali back to the tents. Javanan Bani Hashim biyayid. Oh youth of Bani Hashim, come and help me. Ali bara bar dar khayme rasani." Let's take Ali together back. If I take him by myself, his pieces will fall off. Ala la'natullah ala al-qawm al-zalimin wa sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayya munqalabin yanqalibun. Mata bin Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
لاش اکبر اٹھا رہے ہیں حسین، لاش اکبر اٹھا رہے ہیں حسین، دل کی قوت دکھا رہے ہیں حسین، دو صدا ہو کہاں علی اکبر، ٹھوکرے میں کھا رہے ہیں حسین، لاش اکبر اٹھا رہے ہیں حسین، آہ کرتے ہیں بیٹھ جاتے ہیں، آہ کرتے ہیں بیٹھ جاتے ہیں، کس کا لاشا اٹھا رہے ہیں حسین، لاش اکبر اٹھا رہے ہیں حسین، ارے جاؤ خیمے میں جاؤ اے زینب، جاؤ خیمے میں جاؤ اے زینب، لاش اکبر کی لا رہے ہیں حسین، لاش اکبر اٹھا رہے ہیں حسین، یہ قید میں علی اکبر کی ماں کا نالہ ہے، اکبر کی ماں کا نالا ہے. اور نہیں وہ چاند جو گھر کا میرے اجالا ہے. وہ چاند جو گھر کا میرے اجالا ہے. ارے میرے جوان کو نیزوں سے مار ڈالا ہے. جوان کو نیزوں سے مار ڈالا ہے. ارے کلیجہ توڑ کے برچی کا پھل نکالا ہے. توڑ کے برچی کا پھل نکالا ہے. غضب ہے لاش کو گھوڑوں سے روند ڈالا ہے. یہ قید میں علی اکبر کی ماں کا نالا ہے. یہ قید میں علی اکبر کی ماں کا نالا ہے. ارے بتاؤ لوگوں سے ڈھونڈنے کدھر جاؤں. بتاؤ لوگوں سے ڈھونڈنے کدھر جاؤں. ارے میں اپنے اکبر مہرو کو کس طرح پاؤں. اپنے اکبر مہرو کو کس طرح پاؤں. ملے تو اپنے کلیجے سے اس کو لپٹاؤں. تو اپنے کلیجے سے اس کو لپٹاؤں. رے وہ مر گیا ہے یہ کس طرح دل کو سمجھاؤں. مر گیا ہے یہ کس طرح دل کو سمجھاؤں. ارے کہاں میرا 18 سال والا ہے. قید میں علی اکبر کی ماں کا نالا ہے. یہ قید میں علی اکبر کی ماں کا نالا ہے. ارے خدا کے واسطے اب رن سے آؤ اے اکبر. خدا کے واسطے اب رن سے آؤ اے اکبر. نہیں ستاتے ہیں آ کر بچاؤ اے اکبر. نہیں ستاتے ہیں آ کر بچاؤ اے اکبر. کھلے سروں پہ ردائیں اڑاؤ اے اکبر. سروں پہ ردائیں اڑاؤ اے اکبر. پھوپھی کے حال پہ اب رحم کھاؤ اے اکبر. کے حال پہ اب رحم کھاؤ اے اکبر. تڑپ کے کہتی تھی لیکن دکھوں سے پارا ہے. قید میں علی اکبر کی ماں کا نالا ہے. یہ قید میں علی اکبر کی ماں کا نالا ہے. ارے بتاؤ صبر کرے کس طرح دلے مادر. بتاؤ صبر کرے کس طرح دلے مادر. شبیہ احمد مختار تھے تمہیں دلبر. احمد مختار تھے تمہیں دلبر. تمہارے غم میں میرے دل پہ چلتے ہیں خنجر. تمہارے غم میں میرے دل پہ چلتے ہیں خنجر. تمہارے بعد جہاں سے گئے علی اصغر
ہمارے بعد جہاں سے گئے علی اصغر
ملال دونا ہے دل کو کلا دوبارہ ہے یہ قید میں علی اکبر کی ماں کا لالا ہے یہ قید میں علی اکبر کی ماں کا لالا ہے
یا حسین 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 کڑی الجواں کی لاش پر کہتا رہا رو کر پدر آواز تو دے اکبر ہے 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 آواز تو دے اکبر گرتا ہوا اٹھتا ہوا آ تو گیا ہوں میں مگر گم ہو گیا نور نظر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر 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 ہے تو نوجوان ہے اکبر اور ہے ضعیف بابا تو نوجوان ہے اکبر کیسے اٹھاؤں میت مجھ کو تو بتا دے اتنا جانا ہے اب ایام تک کیسے کروں میں یہ سفر خم ہو گئی میری کمر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر 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 ہے آئی صدا جدھر سے میں اس طرف بڑھوں گا آئی صدا جدھر سے آواز سنتے سنتے تجھے رن میں ڈھونڈ ہی لوں گا تو ہے جدھر پیارے میرے دھیرے سے یہ کہتے ہوئے بابا ادھر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر 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 ہے صغرا کے نامور کو خط کا جواب کیا دوں صغرا کے نامور کو جو منتظر ہے اس کو برچی کا حال سنا دوں رستے سے اب نظریں ہٹا مارا گیا بھائی تیرا کیا بھیج دوں اس کو خبر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر 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 ہے تیری صدا کو سن کر وہ پھر سے جی اٹھے گی تیری صدا کو سن کر ہم شیر تیری ورنہ شاید نہیں جی پائے گی سینے کی برچی تھام کے صغرا کو اس کے نام سے ایک بار ہمت جوڑ کر ہے آواز تو دے اکبر 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 ہے برچی سے بس کلے جا تیرا نہیں शिदा है बर्ची से बस कलेजा मक्तल में फातिमा ने दिल अपना थाम लिया है भाई हसन नाना नबी बाबा अली दादी तेरी मौजूद है सब इधर है आवाज तो दे अकबर है आवाज तो दे अकबर है आवाज तो दे अकबर या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन मौला हक इमाम या हसन या हुसैन मौला हक इमाम या हसन या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन वो आबिदे बीमार था वो आबिदे बीमार था चलने से जो लाचार था चलने से जो लाचार था
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا